I'm Sunny Goldberg, and welcome to Know Your Neighbors. Today, I am, just like you, going to get to know Elliot Fox, Executive Director of the Emelin Theatre. You're not new. You've been there a year. But for some of us, you may be a new face. And I'm so glad you sat down to talk to me, because I'm looking forward to getting to know you. And why did you come to Mamaroneck?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Sonny. It's really a pleasure to be here and to meet you and the rest of the staff here at LMC-TV. I'm actually heading into my third year officially.
Now, you were an interim?
That is correct. I came up as an interim executive director, and through just getting to know the board and beginning to explore the Emelin Theatre and the history and the kinds of things that the board really wanted to do moving forward, we got excited working together.
Now, you'd heard of Emelin. I mean, you'd heard of Mamaroneck. I know you're a Westchester guy.
Right.
Okay. Born in Eastchester.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So you and your family were around these parts, and you knew of Mamaroneck. Did you know of the Emelin?
I did. I remember coming to the Emelin when I was a kid. I don't remember what the production was, but something was going on back when I was in high school, back at Eastchester High School. And we came over with the theater class that I was participating in that year, and we saw something at the Emelin. And then throughout my career in theater over the last 35 years, the Emelin always came up in conversation. I knew people that had worked here and had always just kind of seen what was going on up in Mamaroneck.
It's so amazing to me. When we moved here, I couldn't get over that Brad and I could actually walk to a theater instead of getting in a car and driving to Broadway, that I do anyway, or taking the train, which we always do. It was a local community theater, and not just a theater, you know, with plays, but music and all kinds of things, and that's quite something for a Westchester area, really.
I agree. I think it's so important in a different way than arts institutions in the city are important. When you are one of a limited number of cultural institutions in the suburbs or in areas outside of the metropolitan cities, you have a different responsibility. And the kinds of programming, the kinds of education, the kinds of opportunities that we offer to the kids, to families, to individuals, it's a big deal. The Emelin Theatre, we are so lucky to be that institution here in Mamaroneck, and we also serve Larchmont and Scarsdale and Hartsdale and Portchester.
Eastchester.
Eastchester, indeed. I've been trying to connect with some of my old friends, trying to get people to come over to the theater. But it's an important responsibility that we take on to serve that very diverse community that's around us.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's not like you go to 42nd Street or you go down to the Village. You're trying to put all kinds of various programs available. I got my newest Emelin Theatre season, and it just looks wonderful.
Thank you.
I was talking to Andrea Potash, who's on your board, this morning, and she was saying, now you got to circle this, and Paul Simon's Ladysmith Black Mountain. Anyway, can you tell us about the program?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And help us understand. I mean, that's very difficult for you to get all of these people to come up here, correct?
It is. It's you know, the cultivation of a season of work. And we do music, we do dance, we do a lot of family. We do bluegrass is one of our musical genres. Lots of independent film. In fact, our film club season is sold out for the fall. That is something we've really developed over the last number of years. We're entering our, I believe it's our 13th season. It's gone so well. It's curated by David Schwartz, who is the chief curator of the Museum of the Moving Image down in the city. And David also does work with us and helps curate and pull together the films for that club. So that's gone very well. But taking on a whole season, it takes, you know, a couple of years to really curate and pull together all of these artists. So the brochure did just go out, and all the information is up on our website, emelin.org, and I continue to program. So between now and December, we're pretty well set with the programming. We kick off the live performances October 6th with Leo Kotke is coming to join us. Very excited to have him. He is one of the premier guitar players in the country. He's got a tremendous history in the industry, and his work is just brilliant. Poco, which is a legendary country rock band from the 70s, will be here in October. As you mentioned, Ladysmith Black Mambazo is a South African choral group, Grammy-winning, world-renowned. They're going to stop by in February. We have Chris Jackson, who is probably best known for starring as George Washington in Hamilton. Chris Jackson, terrific actor, really, really nice guy, and he is going to come up and do a concert night with us in December. So we've got a really interesting range of work that's coming up. I mentioned the Bluegrass series. Might be a surprise to a lot of people to know that the Emelin has a really celebrated Bluegrass series we've been doing for 37 years, currently curated by Arnie Fleischer and J.J. Mautner.
That's so neat.
For the last 15 years. So every year we bring up 5 or 6 bluegrass bands. Again, bluegrass musicians are among the best players in their field. So we've got a great season of 5 bluegrass bands coming throughout the season.
So you can buy a series like that. You can buy Bluegrass if you want to, or the family. I know you can buy the family because I got to go over there right away and get that. Those sell out every performance. So you could do that, and you can become a Emelin member.
That is right. There's a number of ways to participate. Of course, one can buy single tickets to any of the events. Several of our series we sell subscriptions to, as you mentioned, the Bluegrass. One can buy into all 5, or you can buy individual tickets. The family series has been very popular. The Emelin has presented family programming. It's children's musicals, basically.
But you have such great people, I mean, that are coming. I remember taking my kids in the village to see the hat. What's it called? The
Cat in the Hat?
Right, exactly. But the paperback players, which were fabulous. And I took them here at the Emelin as well, and they're still coming around here.
It is a tradition, and we still have the audience still loves to come see paperback players. And what surprised me is I did not know of paperback players from my history in theater. It's only when I got here a few years ago that I first saw them. They are incredible. The simplicity of their work translates to just such simple enjoyment.
Adults
and they're
and
so
kids.
good at what they do.
They really do.
Yeah, I sit there like a child watching the paperback players, and I've had such a great time with them. So they've been around a long time. It's a 40-year-old company, but they continue to keep their work fresh. Again, the simplicity is what is so surprising and so wonderful about their work.
You know, it's interesting, Elliot, because reading your history, when I knew you were coming, I looked at, you've been involved with some of my Cherry Lane Theater, Signature Theater. I mean, you've really, but this is your first running a business as well as the theater, correct? I mean, in other words.
Yes and no. You know, here as an executive director of a presenting organization, it's a different kind of work.
Right.
But I've been managing director and general managers of off-Broadway theater companies, which to some degree you are running the business. You serve as a producer of off-Broadway work.
Now, you're, because of your past, you obviously know a lot of people in these, I mean, they don't just come for anybody. So somebody they know you. And I assume that helps you bring this wonderful quality of people to Westchester.
It has been helpful, and I know very few of the musicians in particular that I'm bringing in. I know very few of them because the relationships are so different. In my theater work, yes, I knew a lot of actors and a lot of directors. I had the opportunity to work with Chris Jackson, for instance. We did a show off Broadway together called Bronx Bombers, which was about the Yankees. That show went on to Broadway, and Chris of course, went with that. But most of the musicians or musical performers that I bring in, I have no history with. So what we're trying to do also is look into what my relationships have been, whether it's Chris, my links into the theater world. I can have some conversations with people. Billy Porter came up and joined us for a concert last season. It was about a year ago. And still to this day, for me, one of the best concerts I saw there. Billy has such a great energy about him. He's a brilliant performer, terrific actor, and again, a very, very nice individual. So I reached out to Billy and said, hey, I'm up at the Emelin now. What do you think about coming up and doing a show? And he said, okay, I think we can figure it out. So those kinds of things do happen, and I try and reach out to my community as best I can. But it's also been great to learn this new community. We have a board of directors team that is incredibly passionate about what's going on at the Emelin.
Definitely, if you run into Mark Ettinger, you get stopped and there's nothing else you're going to talk about.
It's, you know, it's exactly what you want as an executive director, to have a team of board members that are, one, plugged into the community, so they have a sense of what's going on here and what's important, but two, that they're really willing to put their money where their mouths are. These are folks that get out there in the community, they talk to their neighbors and friends, they say, what do you want to do, what would you come support? And that's incredibly helpful to us. So we can have discussions and conversations about a variety of work that could be interesting.
And there's some of the...
And these guys get really interested and fired up about it, and that's when you know you've really hit a good chord.
And Marty Oppenheimer, of course, has worked at Lincoln Center and been around on your board for a very long time. I mean, Andrea Potash is a little newer, but always involved in theater and music and dance. And I know all of you, Karen Isaacs, you just have a wonderful board, and I'm
Tremendous
sure that
group of
really
people.
helps.
It is, you know, arts organizations survive based on the quality of your work, which I'm very pleased with the Emelin. We coined the phrase some seasons ago, world class right here, to reflect that we are bringing incredible work right to the backyard of Westchester. Yes, you can go to the city, and lots of people do, but if you don't want to, if you're not going to travel to the city, you can travel to the Emelin right in your backyard and see some really amazing
and
work.
You guys are getting bigger. You got you're doing some renovations, right? The building next to you, didn't you take that over?
Oh, well, not exactly. Actually, we sold the property next to us. We had owned that for a long time. It used to be our office space. And when that building fell into disrepair, we moved offices. That parcel was recently sold to a local developer who is building some luxury rentals.
But
it's going to be a very interesting project.
But you still have the parking space under the...
Yes.
Okay.
The parking facility is actually owned by the village of Mamaroneck. So that's kind of a partnership, and we help keep it clean.
Right. And you upgraded your film.
Yes.
That's not an easy thing. That's a very expensive...
No. Two years ago, the board felt committed to rolling over to the more state-of-the-art cinema systems. So they went out and raised the money to buy and install what's referred to as DCP. It's a digital cinema projection system. It's the same state-of-the-art system if you go to any first-run movie theater in Westchester, in the city. This is what they have. What it allows us to do is to have access to a greater library of new independent film. So when we're screening something, it is in the highest quality that you can get, full surround sound capabilities.
That's a big deal.
It's been wonderful, yeah.
And now you have so many things going up, and we only have a little bit of time, but November 8th is your gala, and when you talk about support of board members, I mean the whole community and people around are invited, and you have a very exciting guest.
Thank you for mentioning.
Mr. Broadway, is that what they call him or something?
I think Norm Lewis is our featured performer. Norm is probably best known for Phantom of the Opera, for Les Miserables, for Aladdin, Sondheim on Sondheim, excuse me, and many other wonderful shows on Broadway and around the country. So Norm is going to come and perform with us that night. We're also thrilled that George Latimer, our new county executive,
the best community person around. I mean,
he's great.
George is everywhere. There's no doubt, and he's going to be the auctioneer.
He is. George agreed to be our guest auctioneer. The gala, as you can imagine, is our single largest fundraising event of the year. So it's exciting for us.
And where do you hold it
comes together
this year? I'm not sure.
We have been at Beach Point Club in Mamaroneck for a number of years. Beach Point, they just do a great job.
They do a great job, and
wonderful food.
Randy is unbelievable and
Randy
open
and Sarah
to
there,
helping communities when they can, and having that is really lovely.
Oh, it's been great. It was I showed up at the Emelin just after their gala in 2015, so I had a chance to kind of visit that process throughout the year. And we've had two tremendous galas. Last year, we honored Karen and Paul Isaac.
Ah.
Kelly O'Hara was with us as the
Right.
performer. It was the single largest gala the Emelin had experienced to date. This year, we're trying to follow suit. We're having great entertainment, great people coming. And as you mentioned earlier, it's an event that not just the board of directors, but the entire community comes out to support us.
Absolutely, and they can show their support, and you have the best auctions. I mean, really, it's quite amazing.
Yeah.
Again, that's a community effort. People, restaurants around here, all over, people really jump right in and really try to make it the best they possibly can.
I think you go back to that idea we were talking about earlier, when you are one of a few cultural organizations in a
Right.
community, and people enjoy what you do and appreciate having you. It's those kinds of moments that really show how much they care about us.
You know,
People
you and
come
I
out
have
do it.
talked a little bit. I talked to you about D.W. Griffin and the
Yeah.
history of film here, and how exciting the history of it is. And I also talked to you. Mamaroneck has an amazing, a 200 and some plus history, and I was hoping that somehow LMC-TV and the Emelin and the new movie theaters when they come or whatever, we could figure out a way to do a Mamaroneck Film Club or a Larchmont Mamaroneck Film Club, because and bring lots of performers here and rival the city really for it.
We hope so. As we were talking about our film club earlier, we do bring up guests. Often they are connected with the film.
Right.
That's a very difficult task to do these days. But we have a really prolific program there. I'm very interested to see what kind of collaboration we can do with the new cinemas once they open, both
I
in
hope.
Larchmont and Mamaroneck.
Absolutely.
But we're thrilled that we've got a very strong foundation already at the Emelin. So
Exactly.
hopefully that will help these other businesses grow too, and hopefully we'll all
So
coexist happily together.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
And maybe next time we get together, if when those are open and whatever, I'll bring back up this film club thing. I was just in Nantucket, and their film festival is fabulous, and that's really what I'd love. Some kind of festival would be so neat.
I think that would be wonderful.
Having things being played all over, and it's good for the Emelin, it's good for Mamaroneck, Larchmont, all surrounding areas. I think that would be a kick.
I've been talking with LMC-TV on and off, as you may know, about trying to find
Right.
Westchester-based filmmakers where we can serve as an outlet
That would be
to screen
wonderful.
new works, professional quality works that are being
You
created
could
by
do Matt
our neighbors.
Sullivan and Dina. They're Westchester film.
I hear they're at work on some interesting projects.
They're working some and
Yeah.
also I have to present you with the Mamaroneck cookbook. You and your wife hopefully will get a kick out of it, because
This is great.
there are all kinds of historic pictures of Mamaroneck.
Thank you.
I come from the middle of the country, Kansas City, Missouri,
Yeah.
and we were really new. Coming here with all of the, these huge trees and these Victorian houses and all the history of this area is just kind of mind-boggling. So I keep just enjoying every aspect of it. And we do have an old film that we should run again, 1940s, showing the Mamaroneck Avenue and the whole area of the village and stuff.
I'd love to see that.
Once we get up from here, I'm gonna make sure we get
Thank
to
you.
show you. Tell me, before we have to call it quits, any hopes and dreams for the future? I mean, if you really could get something, what would you do?
We continue to go after a really good mix of artists. Last season, I was fortunate to have a really great mix of people. I had David Bromberg, I had
Right.
Suzanne Vega, I had Richard Thompson.
Suzanne Vega.
We want to continue to be that outlet for individuals, rock and roll, singer-songwriters, even comedians. I've got Louis Anderson coming later this year.
I saw that, right.
I want to continue down that path of bringing in, again, world-class right here, entertainers and artists who are really at the top of their game. We're a 275-seat venue.
I was
so
going to ask you, what do they think about the stage? I mean, when they come, do they comment? Do they say, wow, or
They
hey,
do
we
say
could do
wow, but not for the reason you think. These are artists who play the Capitol Theater, they play Madison Square Garden, they play Carnegie Hall in the classical. When somebody plays at the Emelin, it's only 275 seats. It's a very intimate experience. Right. And one of the comments that we get from the artists a lot is, it's wonderful to have that relationship with the audience. If an artist has been playing larger venues consistently, that's kind of the frame of reference. And when they come back to a more intimate space where you can see literally everybody in the audience, it's a wonderful relationship, and the artists really enjoy that, as does the audience. So if you have the opportunity to see Leo Kottke from the second row in a 275-seat theater,
that's pretty
I
neat.
think that's a tremendous opportunity. So that's the same kind of work that we're continuing to cultivate. We're also continuing to work with cultivating Westchester-based artists. We'd like to have opportunities to work with more professionals here, and continuing to have this very broad range of work, from dance to comedy to really good rock and roll and folk music. Ladysmith Black Mambazo is a great example, as well as the Klezmatics, doing more.
They've done that, right?
Yeah, more regional or different genres of work. I think that's important to continue to cultivate those kinds of relationships.
And they feel comfortable, and they the stage itself and all of that. That's I always wonder backstage. You know, it's like here. Do you have the equipment? Do you have the? And it sounds like everything seems to be pretty.
It is. It's a professionally stocked venue. We've got a tremendous production team. So we have all of the gear in-house, and occasionally we need to rent things that are specific to a band or to a dance program. But we have everything we need. There's, very nice accommodations backstage. It's nothing super fancy, but
when you bring them
serves the work.
You bring them from the city, you bring them from all over.
They come from all over the country. It's rare that we fly somebody in especially for us. Usually we are plugging into a time when an artist is in the area. And they say, great, I've got an opportunity and would love to be at the Emelin. But occasionally we'll bring somebody in special. We're bringing Norm specially.
For the gala.
Yeah, Norm is coming up especially for the gala.
And November 8th, you'll be there, your staff will be there, everybody can say hello.
Absolutely, it would be great.
And chat with you.
Yeah.
And do people stop you and say, gee, I wish you could get so-and-so, or can you bring waitress when it goes, or whatever the heck?
I do. We've got a very vocal and generous audience. So people will either stop by at the theater, or I get emails a lot and phone calls. They'll stop us on the street and have recommendations or comments about the last show that they saw, something they wish they could see. So yes, that happens all the time, and I love the recommendations from people. We have, in the community, there's a lot of really experienced music goers, theater goers. So when they come through with a recommendation, I receive it as a member of the community who may be representative of what others in the area would enjoy.
That's true.
So I try and look into those recommendations as best I can. Sometimes they work out.
And sometimes they don't.
One of our patrons had recommended Ann Hampton Calloway, who had been here many years ago. But I reached out to Ann on that recommendation, and consequently, she's coming in November.
Wow.
So, timing was right. She wanted to come back. We were looking for the right opportunity.
That's really nice. I mean, that's just kind of down-homey, right?
It's very personal here.
It is very personal.
I like to say very off-Broadway, which goes back to my roots.
It goes back to your
roots. We knew every one of the artists. We knew all the patrons. We know all the people who come to see us, who come to review us. It's a very personal relationship.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Obviously, people are reviewing you not just from Westchester, but from other places, correct?
We're very lucky that we do draw from Long Island, we draw from Staten Island, we draw from Manhattan. We have patrons who come from Jersey, upstate New York. It really depends on who you're presenting and timing. If somebody is looking for that particular artist, if somebody wants to see Poco and the timing works out for them to come here, they'll make the drive.
Now, you are a New Jersey guy now.
I am.
So you're commuting.
I am.
So 12 o'clock, the play is over or the whatever. do you drive? Do you
I
go?
do. I do.
Wow.
I spend a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
time on the
books
George
on
Washington
me.
Bridge. I'm a huge NPR fan,
Oh, NPR,
huge
of course.
WFUV fan. So, you know,
And
I
it's
get
okay.
entertainment, and I probably talk a little bit too much on the phone, but while driving, not such a great thing. But occasionally, you got to do it.
Wow. And your kids are in school. One's in New Jersey. One's in college.
Yes, correct.
And your wife is very kind about letting you be here all the time.
You know, my wife and I have been together for 32 years now. So we've been
Congratulations.
through a lot of this timing.
Oh, and you've been through a lot of moves.
She started in the theater as well as an actress.
Wow.
While I was starting as a young actor and then into producing and arts management. So she's been through the ringer on late nights. I used to work 7 days a week and, you know, crazy business. But it balances out, you know.
Yeah.
It's worth it for what we do. There's an enjoyment about bringing the arts and bringing this kind of entertainment to your audience. And you just have to find the balance and not ignore your family.
So you were really actress and actor,
Yeah.
or actor and actor. My friend Jane Alexander always says, I am an actor, and, you know, I always want to say actor.
I got to do a show with Jane at Primary Stages years ago. I was the managing director there. Jane came down to do a Tina Howe play.
Tina was her good friend. Oh my God.
And you know, what a tremendous experience for me to have Jane Alexander work with us off Broadway. What a generous, lovely actor.
She is one of the
Great human
kindest,
being.
nicest, most beautiful ladies.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Ed Sheeran passed away about a year
I had heard,
ago.
yes.
And but Jane is something else. Maybe we'll get her to come back to the Emelin.
That would be lovely. You know,
She
there's
knows
lots
she's
of
a
people who've been here.
Westchester, but she has a home in Westchester, but she's really Nova Scotia now.
Good for her.
About 6 months out of it, yeah. But
Yeah, so those kinds of relationships are really fun, and I learned so much from working with veterans like that,
Yeah.
who really had been through so many different experiences in their career. So working with Jane and, you know, all the different playwrights and different actors I've had the opportunity to be with, it's been a great education.
isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
we're coming to the end of the production here.
Oh, no.
Tell me what I've forgotten. Have we not covered anything that you would really like to tell people out there? They're probably going to stop you now. Because we
hope
run
so.
this quite often in LMC-TV.
Good. Well, don't hesitate. I would
I
say
hope they got to know their neighbor, and you really are. I mean, whether you're a Jersey guy or not. Hey, do you know Bruce?
no, we've not had a chance to meet yet. And I've missed him on Broadway. So
We're seeing him
Yeah.
on, Andrea and I, and our husbands are seeing him in November.
one of his last shows, I bet. Yeah.
Can't wait. Are you kidding? The boss.
But I would say I hope that people will either come back to the Emelin, or if you've not had the opportunity to experience a show here, it's really a great place. You know, take a look at our calendar, come to our website, emelin.org. You can see the whole variety of work going on, and come down and see something.
Well,
Stop in, grab a ticket.
You've made it, from everything I know, just made it above and beyond. Your contacts, your kindness, your willingness to reach out has just been wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
I thank you for coming and sitting down and talking to me.
Pleasure, Sonny.
I now know my neighbor.
Thank you so much.
And
Good to meet you
I
and
hope
everybody.
you all out there have enjoyed meeting Elliot Fox. Don't forget about their gala on November 8th, and we'll see you next time on Know Your Neighbors. Thanks for watching us. Good job.
Thanks,
I think
Sonny.
we got